Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I literally launched the original game 20 years after I first did it. And you know what happened after the long-awaited sequel release? I continue playing the first part. No, I also started playing Bloodlines 2, otherwise this video wouldn't exist, but I still periodically return to the first part, and not just to compare some technical things for the review, but because there is something that story missing in the sequel. I thought the original is far from ideal. In general, both Bloodlines are vibrant, atmospheric, but very contradictory games. And for almost every plus, there's a minus or quit. This is especially true for the sequel. Let's start of course with the plot. After the long-suffered development of Bloodlines 2 shift from those who participated in creating the first part to the Chinese room, I had no doubt that we'll primarily get a thrilling adventure. The authors of Due Easter and Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs have always excellent at story and narrative form, and in Bloodlines 2 we got an interesting and even engaging plot that maintains intrigue for a long time, builds drama and closer to the final, even hits you emotionally, making you almost shred a stoic male tears in one episode. And this too is caused by the relationship between the two main characters of the game, the legendary ancient vampire nicknamed the Nomad and Detective Fabian, a bloodsucker from the Malkavian clan. The first kills the second, but from the very beginning they communicate and coexist in the Nomad's body. He awakens from a centuries-old sleep in modern Seattle right on the eve of major upheavals awaiting the local vampire clans, and is the Nomad who destined to play a key role in resolving this crisis in a bad or a good way. Helping with this will be a Fabian's voice in his head. As a result, through the game, we switch between the ancient vampire and the detective. In the second case, we return to the past, often quite distant, as far back as 1920, and there's a Fabian's flashbacks. Not only does the color grading and atmosphere change, approaching classic noir, but the gameplay itself shifts. Combat, progression, and exploring of the open field will give you to questioning and irrigation. As you can see, the Chinese room approached the narrative form creatively, and overall the plot worked out. As I say, the story intrigue and its present looks much more interesting than what was in the original. And let's admit, the plot in the first Bloodline is more primitive in its setup. The main hero or heroine is given life by a Prince Lacroix, the head of the Camarilla in Los Angeles, and we are forced to carry out his runs. In the sequel, the program of events is also clear from the start, and similar motifs appear. Both games revolve around the body of an ancient vampire in a sarcophagus that could play a crucial role, as well as around the procedure of a diablerie. That's when one berserker drains another and devours their soul. In Bloodlines 2 there is a more task initially. We have to unravel how the Nomad and the detective end up connected, where the weakening mark on the Fuhrer's hand come from, who's brutally killing mortals and even vampires. And the Nomad constantly had to choose how to behave with the leaders of the vampire clans and the local princes of the Carmalia, whose signature theme of the confrontation hasn't gone anywhere. Fabian also seems some oddities and communicates with a certain gardener. Who is that? There's a many questions, and the author skillfully maintains the intrigue. The detectives' flashback play a crucial role here. They add even more mysterious and interesting relationships to the story, skillfully weaving them into the modern fabric of the narrative. Assuming a rise, of course, but the writers manage to surprise each time. I almost guessed the key twist, but the writers convinced me it couldn't be true, and then naturally they deceived me, and the shock when it happened was even stronger. All this is complemented by a vibrant character. Walk with the text. It's interesting to read both the notes that regularly fill the codex and the dialogues. Fabian especially shines, constantly dropping sharp remarks and jokes, and the others try to keep up, many lines back to be quoted. And the detective's flashbacks periodically even tune into comedy. He has several vampire abilities that allow manipulating intercourse to extract information. And thanks to one of them, we can even communicate with inanimate object. As a result, Fabian chats with a dictaphone, then a little skull, and even quite openly flirts with a filing cabinet in the police archive. In places it borders on light cringe, the archive cabinet turns out to be a quite perverted. But overall it's played and fought excellently. It brings a fresh breath to the prom's vampire conversations. So what's wrong with the plot? There's a few questions about logic, like when a character whose long desire for the nomad to save him and turn him into vampire first tries to kill him by sending hordes of soldiers. But these are more like minor things that can be chalked up to conversation and the need to maintain intrigue. There's also questions about non-linearity. The very first seems key choice locally makes no difference. Even if we say no, the intercaller won't attack, and we will still get to the opportunity to communicate with him and take quests. In other situations, we are forced to carry out an errand even if we outright refuse. Will be a bit irritated. All or important lines in dialogues with a key character can please, alarm or upset them. These boldly affect relationship. But in the end, she will say she appreciates our good discussion. Good. Yes, with this character I try to maintain a friendship, and the game apparently decides that one bad dialogue wasn't enough to ruin it. But it looks extremely strange and highlights the imperfection of such a relationship system. On the other hand, I immediately recall how in the first Bloodlines I tried to find a way not to hand Ninth reviews over the Kamala Prince and switch to the Anarch side already in the first half of the game, and couldn't find such an option, and so the game hints it at all. In the end, both in the first and second parts, much boils down to a series of key decisions closer to the end of the playthrough, which determines the ending we get. In the sequel there are 6 such endings, and they are truly different, and our decisions not through the entire game but still influence them. Thanks for that. What disappointing is that during the detective flashback, the narrative rhythm sucks. We are forced to just run back and forth from one quest character to another across the city, often just to say a couple of lines, run back for the needed item and return. This is idolized by the need to drink blood from the detective's acquaintances, who conversely wait near the quest points that help he recharge his conversation abilities. And occasionally there's are puzzles with solutions to some we already seen in previous scenes. In general, it would be better without the runs and just place us directly into the coolest stage in raging episodes. In fact, there's plenty of runs around the city even with flashbacks. Surprisingly, in the sequel we got a much larger and truly open city, but exploring the world was more interesting in the first part. We could just randomly enter a hospital without a quest, prompts, and accidentally save a dying woman, who a couple of hours later would offer to become our loyal slave. Or we might not do that. We could turn into dark areas and find locked shops or a blood bank, try to pick locks and get another interesting quest. Or go straight to the Asylum Club and meet its crazy but extremely charismatic owner. In the sequel, there's a similar nightclub, but you can only get there via thought. In Bloodlines 2, instead of interesting exploration and handcrafted side quests, and there were many of them, they often repetitive tasks that turns the ancient vampire into the errand boy who tracks and eliminates someone or just deliver packages. Through the game, we take them from the same chapters but the same scheme. That is, nothing more. A few characters ask us to destroy safety cameras, raise graffiti, find corpses, wearing changing. The shift to more primitive side quests and less engineering exploration is apparently due to the fact that it isn't quite an RPG in the spirit of the original Bloodlines, but a narrative adventure is an open world with the elements. Compared to the first part, there's a particularly no role-playing system. Character creation boils down to choosing one of 6 clans. There are no system attributes, talents, skills, knowledge, and disciplines. We are just told what each faction is inclined toward, but in reality, all the abilities we unlock are tied to combat, movement, and stealth. In the sequel, there's no way to seduce, persuade, intimidate, pick locks, or hack computers, get discount from merchants, and there's no trading. On the other hand, the combat system here is a month better than the Enigma. I can't call it anything else. We saw it in the first game. At first, it seems like it's set here too. You can only fight in melee, and it's often just as hard to hit the targets, fight boil down to chaotic flailing. But that's only the first. Saying that this as a boxer simulator in hell is simply wrong. It turns out you can activate vampire vision and quietly eliminate enemies one by one, use telekinesis to put 2 weapons toward you and shoot back. But the real fun is taking control of opponents and making them attack their own, forcing rivals to fight each other or even kill themselves. I played as a Torador clan repetitive representative again, and this has clan abilities, combined with some other, often allow me to not participate directly in the fray at all. I kissed opponents and lured them to my side, beckoned them closer and sank my teeth into their neck, quietly teleported behind their back, beat and float back. There are many moves, some even seem cheaty, but in any case I got the feeling that the character turns into a dead machine that kills spectacularly and efficiently. And at the first, even on normal difficulty, it was sometimes taught. Correctly, at match you became calm and start looking for the positive in everything. Therefore, as this little net math free, the nervous me is forced to repeat banal things. This is far from the ideal, but important game. You just need to give it a chance. At some point, you start enjoying even the runs and flights around the city, looking with a bloody grin at the scurrying mortal below and helplessly sniping rules. There's above outright failures and very successful things there. Considering all the circumstances of this difficult to put it mildly developed, you realize the Chinese room employees did not everything, but a lot. They particularly shift the emphasis from classic RPG to a more narrative stage adventure, significantly improve the direction, design, graphics and combat, but not very successful crammed into a larger open world. However, if you remove all the excuse what left in a simple fact, we got a very atmospheric vampire game where you can once feel like a powerful bloodsucker from the world of darkness, deciding what for will be. Please don't forget to subscribe.